The Spurs and the Rockets are currently in their rebuild, but are the Spurs better than Houston? And let's put the spotlight on Tre Jones.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. TGIF, everybody. Y'all made the right choice. Coming back here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I'm better. I feel better now. I got sick again recently. All good. All coast is clear. We're good to go back with video. So thank you for your patience. Hey, what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about the Spurs and the Rockets. As of this moment, as this recording, is San Antonio better than Houston? They got a young core. They got a new coach. Spurs got a young core. They got a returning coach. Who is leading the charge when it comes to the two Texas teams? Also, we're going to put the spotlight on Tre Jones and ask our guests and myself, what's just one thing we want to see Tre Jones improve upon next season? Again, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first choice. Available on Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube, Spotify. Pick a platform. We are everywhere. And as always, we thank you. Yeah. Woo, it's almost that time. Can you feel it? The countdown is on. The new season is right around the corner. And while all eyes in Texas are likely looking at Wemby and the Spurs, the whole Wemby mania, but lurking in the shadows are still teams in the West that the Spurs are going to have to try to play catch up with. We're going to be looking at the Rockets, but just in their own backyard, the division itself. Got Dallas, Luka, Kyrie. They ain't going anywhere. The Pelicans. Yeah, I forgot about them, huh? They had a good season last year, and they're only getting better if Zion does stay healthy. So they got to contend with that. And then there's Memphis. Yes, I know, Ja Morant situation, but they're still a powerhouse team in the West. And, of course, the Rockets. We'll talk about them in a bit. That's just the Southwest Division. Looking ahead at the whole conference, it's going to be a battle. You got the reigning champs, Denver. You got, the Kings that are rising. So the point of this thing is that, hey, the Spurs may be looking good right now, but they still got a long road ahead of them to catch up with the Joneses. No pun intended with our second segment about Tre Jones. But the point is that, the Spurs, they got their work cut out for them, not just in their own backyard, but in the whole conference, the whole NBA. It's going to take a while for them to reach to those levels where they secure maybe a 1-6 spot in the playoffs, or be that team that maybe teams circle on the calendar as we got this W. Maybe they can get off that road. So while it's great to have Wemby and a young core, Sohan and Devin and KJ and all the young kids, they still have growing up to do. Wemby does have a big learning curve to still go through. Hopefully it's not as long, maybe just a short, big learning curve. But even when they get there, they still have other teams that are ahead of them in the race for the best in the West or a playoff spot, let alone the NBA title. So it's still going to be a road to haul. It's still going to be a road that the Spurs and you as a fan are going to have to be patient with. And I would love to see a Spurs championship river parade again. It's been a while, but that may be a few years from now. And getting Wemby is a good start. I think we're forgetting that. That's a good start to making this rebuild faster. The NBA has proven that one lone star sometimes is not good enough. And hopefully Wemby does turn into that. But look at Denver. You got Joker and Murray. You look at Dallas, Kyrie and Luka. The list goes on and on and on. And there's a few kind of outliers, Giannis, kind of a one-man wrecking crew, but it's going to be a while before any Spur, let alone Wemby, reaches to that level. So while everybody's cheering in San Antonio, just brace yourself, get ready, and put on those patient pants. It's going to be a while before the Spurs get there. But let's go and put in the spotlight the Houston Rockets. They have a young core just like the Spurs. They got a new head coach. They're in their own backyard. The Spurs are kind of in the similar path with Houston, but as of right now, which is the better team, San Antonio or Houston? Let's talk about that and more with our guest. He is Vinnie Vinzetta. Let's go and bring him on here. Get him on shortly here. Where is he? Hey, where's Vinny? There's Vinny. Woohoo! He is back. By the way, Vinny, I'm glad you're feeling better too.
Thank you. How'd you find me during football season? That's really impressive. Good on you. I like that.
It's called hounding you. It's called texting you at least once or twice a week for you to get on Locked On Spurs. But yeah, Vinny's a busy guy. You can tell on his t-shirt right there, he is covering high school sports and football for Kansas 5. He luckily had a little bit of a break in between games and has carved out a little time here for us right here on Locked On Spurs. Make sure to follow Vinny on Twitter at Vinzetta. Do it right now, especially if you're in San Antonio, want to know all things high school football. He's the man to go to. But Vinny, we thank you for hopping on Locked On Spurs. Let's dive into this. The Spurs and the Rockets kind of are on similar paths. If you really look at it, Houston has a multiple first-round picks. They're trying to build that out, trying to get their young core developed for the future. Spurs, same way. The Spurs got lucky. They got the number 1 pick, much to the chagrin of Rockets fans. But Houston also got a quality head coach, Ime Udoka, former Spur. Coming back is Greg Popovich to help the Spurs continue their rebuild. On paper right now, Vinny, who do you think is the better team for the long term and the short term, setting themselves up to be one of the best in the West, Houston or San Antonio?
Yeah, I would say just by default, because of that term we all know and love, Spurs culture, I would obviously pick San Antonio. I do recognize and understand that Houston has a lot of young talent right now with, the Thompson kid they drafted last June and Jabari Smith Jr. and Jalen Green and they brought in Dylan Brooks, who's maybe a little bit more of a bully. I think his game's maybe kind of been exposed about who he really is. But point being, they have good young players. But I'm still going to defer to the people you mentioned, obviously Wembanyama and Keldon Johnson and Devin and Tre Jones and the young people that Jeremy Sohan, the young people that San Antonio have. And they know how to develop and put these people in places and help them get it figured out. Now, it is interesting. Yes, the Rockets can finally steal a little bit of Spurs culture because they hired Udoka, who kind of knows the Spurs way. But there's a big difference between he and Pop still. So I would default and obviously lean toward San Antonio. But these are two teams that we're going to hear from down the road, but not quite jumping off the on-ramp to the major highway just yet. Because I think you're right, Jeff. The West is still remarkably loaded. How does it happen year after year? The West is so good year after year. So it's good to see San Antonio, and I guess we'll welcome Houston into the fight. But I would lean to the Spurs as better positioned to make some noise in the West. You got to remember, it seems that it doesn't matter who the head coach is. There's a prerequisite in Houston that nobody plays defense. They might actually play some now with Ime Udoka.
Yeah.
But Mike D'Antoni never ran into a defense that he liked, and the great Kevin McHale seemed to be more interested in offense. So I'm going to just assume that still Houston won't play much defense, whereas the Spurs will harp on it.
Yeah, there are other factors that are leaning towards San Antonio being the better team / franchise set for now and the future on the court and off the court. We're going to get into that when we get back with Vinnie Vinzetta, my colleague at Ken's 5 TV. Follow him on Twitter at VVinzetta, especially with high school football underway out in Texas, San Antonio. You got to follow him if you want all the scores, updates, everything you need for high school sports in San Antonio, Texas, and much, much more. Hey, get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get a $100 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from the spreads to player props and so much more. Look, I use it. I rely on that, whether it be for NBA futures, even Wemby futures, whatever it is, I go there for everything I need when it comes to getting on board with America's #1 sports book. That is FanDuel. So you want to visit FanDuel.com/lockedon right now and kick off NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with my colleague. He is Vinnie Vinzetta. We like to call him the Vin Dog. And even a code cannot knock the Vin Dog out of his game. Good job, Vinny. You are one tough hombre.
You tried, but I'm back.
Follow him on Twitter at VVinzetta. Hey, Vinny, somebody told me that Wemby is learning the game from you one-on-one, like how to learn and be a better player. Vinny, I didn't know you had it in you.
Well, let's not set him back quite that far just yet. We want him to move in the right direction. So I'm not sure I'm going to give Mr. Wemby anything he doesn't know. All I can tell you about Wemby is that he makes for a really good ice cream called Wim Bananas Foster. You should try it sometime down at St. Anthony Hotel downtown. Good stuff.
Oh, yes. Yeah, another reason why you got to follow Vinny on Twitter. He has that. Go check it out. That ice cream named after Wemby. We're talking about the San Antonio Spurs and the Rockets, the battle of two Texas teams. Both teams are in a rebuild mode. Both teams have young cores. Both teams have quality head coaches, although the Spurs definitely have way better edge on that. But which team is better suited for now and the long term? Off the court, Vinny, you got to give the Spurs the nod. The Spurs, last I checked, they have like 1 billion draft picks. I mean, seriously, I'm being jokey here, but they got tons of draft picks. They are one of the more financially set clubs in the NBA to chase free agents and throw money at them. They have a player by the name of Wembanyama that I'm pretty sure free agents would love to play with. You look at the Houston Rockets roster. As of right now, there's not that one guy that says, you know what? Yeah, I want to go to Houston because I want to play with the Thompson twin. I want to play with Alperen Sengun. They don't have that type of lure. The Spurs got Wembanyama. He alone is going to make everybody on that Spurs squad much better with the spacing and his presence. And also, too, you look at the proof is in the pudding. Brian Wright, we did an episode on him. He deserves a big pat on the back for what he's done to position this team for the now and for the long term. If an NBA player is looking for that closer to the ring, closer to the playoff experience, San Antonio may be given the edge over Houston. Houston hired Silas, and that was a debacle. And they finally got Wise, and they got in Ime. So I think off the court, as far as positioning and draft and financials, Vinny, I got to give the edge to the Spurs.
I love that thought, especially, Jeff, the financials, because they just had a summer of money and laid back. Yeah. And so they're going to have money to work with this next summer. And you're right, along with Oklahoma City, who in the world has more draft capital to work with than the Spurs and Thunder, whether it be to draft players or to make deals or to put together packages. So, yeah, really, really good spot to be in. And I want to talk for a second. You mentioned Brian Wright. Everybody was waiting to jump on him and watch this blow up in his face and not work out. He took a leap of faith. He took the plunge. He stuck the toe in the deep end, and I'm not saying it all worked out perfectly, but his plan is coming together. He was not afraid. He faced an idea of, I'm really throwing myself and my rep out there to get this thing moving back forward, and it looks like it is absolutely on the way to paying off. So good on him, and I give him a round of applause, all the credit in the world. He took chances, and it's gonna pay off.
Yeah, there is a website that used baseball analytics and converted that to like kind of a basketball side. And what they did is they broke it down, and Wright came out as one of the top 3 GMs in the NBA using a kind of a baseball analysis ahead of guys like Presti, ahead of guys, like that well-known established GMs. And you're just looking at just the GM battle between San Antonio and Houston. Brian Wright is ahead of that. Getting Ime was a big coup. Bravo to Houston, good job, but that may not be enough because where they are now. they would have to pretty much gut their roster if they want to bring in a power player. And I don't know about their financials, but they're not up there, like you mentioned, with OKC and San Antonio. And so who is the better positioned franchise for the now and the future? It's San Antonio. And look, you know, one other thing I like about this discussion is because you're already starting to see it now, especially on social media, Vinny. Dare I say the Houston-San Antonio rivalry could be ignited again? I miss those days, Vinny. They look like they might be back.
That would be so awesome. I mean, as much as I have always liked to joke that we enjoy beating up on our little brothers to the north there, the Dallas Mavericks. Yes, San Antonio and Houston being a healthy rivalry is good for the division, and it's good for this part of Texas. Yeah, it would be great. I mean, we want to beat them every time, but to see them actually be good and to have good basketball games against those guys, meaningful basketball games,
right?
Playoff position basketball games. That would be a lot of fun. And remember when Brian Wright was shipping out all these guys? I mean, the list is a mile long of all he pushed out of here to get where they are now. Again, I want to say it. He staked his reputation. He threw himself out there, and everybody was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I sure hope this works out.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like he's about to see a lot of the fruits of his labor. I'm impressed. A lot of credit to Brian Wright and his staff.
Yeah. I am just encouraged by that. And you know, whether he's no longer with the Spurs in the short term or long term, nevertheless, the position that the San Antonio Spurs are in right now, I think should be envied throughout the league. I mean, what other team can boast what they have on the roster, financially, draft capital, at least 5 years, if he does play it out, a Hall of Fame coach. So, yeah, I mean, you look at Houston, it feels like they're still trying to get things going, that they're still trying to get things going. There's this too, Vinny. They still got Ime still has a big task ahead of him to shake out, you know, this young squad and the bad habits they got from Silas. I mean, there was rumblings that Silas had no control in that locker room. So he's going to have to reinstall discipline. He's going to have to get these guys back in ship shape for the push, for their rebuild. Popovich has already set the standard, set the tone. He has players, young veterans like Keldon and Devin and Trey that can start their leadership and bringing along Sidi Sissoko, Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, even Wemby. So, I mean, the Spurs, man, Vinny, how do they do this time and time again? They are just top notch, Vinny.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of losing the last couple of years, and that was part of the process to get where we are now. But what does that also tell you? That tells you they had a plan. They knew what they were doing. It wasn't going to be the funnest Tuesday and Thursday and random Friday nights during an NBA season all these years, but they were building for now. And here we are. And I'm not here to suggest that they're going to be in the NBA Finals this year, but the road work has been laid down. So it's time to get to work and see what they can make of this. And there's no doubt. I mean, we know the Spurs way. They will make something of this. Everybody should get ready. These things don't happen overnight, but just get excited. The future is bright.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited. I think all of San Antonio is excited. The season cannot hurry up. Although I am looking forward to seeing Sengun versus Wemby. As much as everybody's looking at Chet Holmgren versus Wemby as a budding rivalry, perhaps Alperen Sengun and Wemby battles would be pretty fun to watch next season. Mm-hmm. Hey, when we get back, we're going to put into spotlight Tre Jones. I'm going to ask Vinny what's one thing he wants to see Tre Jones bring to the court, or maybe off the court, next season when the ball goes up in the air. And I'll give you what I think as well right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I'm going to give Vinny a quick break right now, and I'm going to talk to you about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Hey, you got to go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now. Not only do they have the best coffee in San Antonio, they're a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs. Through over 300 5-star reviews cannot be wrong. Yeah. 300 5-star reviews. They got everything you need. Dairy alternatives. They got caffeine-free drinks. They got their signature drink, which is the Mudslingers Dry coffee. It's a dark chocolate caramel steam espresso. I mean, it is just very good. You got to get it. And if you want to charge up your day, you got to go through with the Red Bull Lightning Infused series, that's just as you think it is. Just Red Bull and power to wake you up and get you going and keep you going throughout the day. I recommend putting strawberry flavor in that if you do pick one of those. And they got the Alien, which is in honor of Wembayama, another full can of Red Bull, green apple, kiwi. I mean, it is just delicious. You got to get it. And the OJ, if you don't want to get all caffeined up, it's a very nice, smooth, frosty drink. It's basically the Orange Julius from back in the day in the 70s and 80s, recreated only at Mudslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. Open every day, Monday through Monday practically, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., located at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. You want to go there right now. That's located in the Stone Oaks area, 1604-281. Again, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. Go there right now. Friendly staff, good menu, and a new drink. Yes, a new drink almost like every week practically. This time it's called the Sub-Zero. That's in honor of UTSA's Frank Harris. So you got to check it out. That's been a big hit so far. And mini donuts. Get the mini donuts. I guarantee you'll love them. Go to Mudslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. Follow them on social media on Threads, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Pick a platform. They are everywhere at Mudslinger SATX. Life is too short for a bland coffee. All right, let's go to bring him back. He is Vinnie Vinzetta. Let's go to see if he's available. Did Vinny run off on us? Hopefully he didn't run off on us because he got. Oh, there he is. Hey, he is back, everybody. He is the Vin Dog. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at VVinzetta. Ask him, that how tough he is because he doesn't let a cold, he doesn't let heat. He doesn't let anything get in his way from bringing you the best high school football coverage. Am I right, Vinny?
How about that? There's a flex. You're exactly right.
We're talking about your silver and black, and now we're going to put in the spotlight Tre Jones. Tre Jones, got himself a nice little pay grade upgrade. So he is ready for the new season, but every player needs to show some improvement. And now he cannot lean that, I'm a rookie, I'm a sophomore. He shedded that. He's now an NBA vet. Vinny, what is one thing you want to see as far as improvement is concerned from Mr. Jones?
I thought about this a little bit. Remember during the peak of Tony Parker's career, old TP9 would get a little upset when things weren't going well, when they were losing maybe late in the third or early in the fourth. And you could just kind of tell that suddenly Tony Parker, TP9, took it upon himself to get angry and not be happy and just basically kind of said, everybody, get the hell out of the way. I'm going to take this thing over and start leading this charge and get everybody involved. So I would say that's the one thing I want to see out of Trey. Don't be afraid to be that guy, Jeff, when things aren't well, to say, you've earned the right to take over and show that aggression and be angry and be that emotional floor general leader that sometimes an NBA team is going to need because it's a long season. Not everybody has it every night, but be that guy. Right. Be that guy that says something in a timeout. Be that guy that takes upon yourself to attack the rim and gets everybody's attention, and everybody else says, Trey's not happy. Trey wants to go. Trey wants this. And everybody else will follow. So I used to love seeing that. You could just see at times from Tony, and he would have a quick 6 points just like that. Everybody knew Tony's not messing around. He wants to close this thing. It's what they call winning time in the NBA. So let's see Trey step it up a little bit more and become one of those guys.
Absolutely. I was going to go with the obvious, like outside shooting. And look, I think he's aware of that. We don't really need to get into that. But for me, I would love to put him in a room. And you kind of took one of my ideas, but I'm going to add a little bit more to it. I would love to put him in a room with Avery Johnson and Tony Parker. With Avery, learn how to be that little general. Avery wasn't the most talented player. He wasn't an offensive juggernaut. He wasn't a defensive juggernaut. But boy, could he get on the squad. So I agree with you. I'd love to see a lot more vocal leadership out of him. And for Tony Parker, I took something different from him. I would love to have him one-on-one teach Trey the teardrop shot. The teardrop shot. I would love to see him incorporate that. If he can't get that outside shot going, if for some reason he still needs more time to develop that, then there's something he can do right now, which is get into that paint. And with Wemby in the paint, that's going to be a lot of floor spacing there. So with Wemby being an outside threat, because he can knock down that long mid-range and three-point shot, that's going to leave some wide open lanes for Tre Jones. And if he can knock down that nice little, even a George Gervin finger roll, I'll take that too, in the paint. I think that'll be good for his game and his overall development. Now, look, just what he's shown so far, I've been a big fan. Minimal turnovers. I mean, he has one of the best assist-to-turnover ratios in the league. Doesn't look for his shot first. He looks for other players first. He is the guy that's going to get the charge going on offense and set that tone, spread the ball around. And I also like that fact, too. That's one less mouth to feed offensively, because Tre Jones is not going to look for his touches. He's going to look for Devin. He's going to look for Wemby. He's going to look for Keldon. He's going to look for Sohan. He's going to look for those guys. So that will help the Spurs as well. And he'll get his and as the game plays out for him. So all in all, I think with the floor leadership, that get angry mode that you're talking about, and adding perhaps another dimension outside of the outside shot, and that being interior scoring, I think it'd be great for him. I mean, but just think Wemby alone is going to help everybody's game. Vinny, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, everybody's better just because of him. I mean, everybody's an option because of Wemby. Yeah, there's no question about that. And I would add, too, that, Manu's in the building now because he works for the organization. And then Tim is always stopping by practice. To your point about the teardrop, we need TP9 to start stopping by practice more because he still lives in San Antonio. So get on over there to the new Rock and at Lock and Terra and help Trey develop that teardrop. That's awesome. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. He is Vinnie Vinzetta. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at VVinzetta. Vinny, what is going on with San Antonio sports?
Oh, man, just a lot of football, a lot of high school football, big college football game on Saturday inside the Alamo Dome. UTSA and Texas State. UTSA dropped their opener at Houston 17-14. And Texas State, who is head coached by Jeff Traylor's former high school quarterback, a guy named G.J. Kinney, who was at Incarnate Word for 1 year, but now at Texas State. They rolled in and shocked Baylor and Waco last week, 42-31. So Big emotional game. Coach Traylor, Coach Kinney have never coached against each other as opposing head coaches. So it'll be a high-charged, emotional atmosphere at the Alamo Dome on Saturday. And the NFL kicks off this weekend. And before we know it, I've seen emails about the Spurs preseason schedule and an open scrimmage. So before we know it, it's going to be media day. And practice will be underway for the Silver and Black, right?
Yeah, it's going to be exciting times. We're going to break open that Rock practice facility. It'd be nice to see that. It's almost completed, almost done. Vinny will be there. Hopefully I will be there. We'll see my schedule. We'll bring you the best Spurs coverage. By the way, in case you didn't know, KENS 5 is the official TV home for your San Antonio Spurs. Yep. Yeah, so we'll definitely have a lot of Spurs games. So you'll get a good, healthy scoop of Wemby and the Spurs next season right here on KENS 5. Make sure to follow Vinny on Twitter at VVinzetta. Let him know that he is the big dog. He's the only big dog in San Antonio, so give him a follow immediately. And thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes. The list goes on and on. We are still in off-season mode, so next week we'll still give you about 2 to 3 episodes, but we'll be going back to 5. Yeah, Vinny, going back to 5 very, very, very soon with training camp right around the corner. Once again, he is Vinnie Vinzetta. I am Jeff Garcia. Thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. And we're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.